Fatherhood isn't easy, but in autism land, it's a journey like no other. Join Mark DeGrasse as we explore the highs, lows, and everything in between of raising children on the autism spectrum. With real stories, practical advice, and a touch of humor, we're here to navigate this unique journey together. For dads navigating life on the autism spectrum, you're not alone.
I'm Mark DeGrasse, the host of Dads in Autism Land, and today we have a very special guest, an author and autism dad, of course, Jeffery May. We're going to be talking about his son Jackson and also his book, which they came out with, him and his wife came out with, which I thought was very impressive, which talks about communication, the daily life of being an autism parent, and a bunch of other aspects that we could all learn and hopefully improve our parenting skills as well. So welcome, Jeffery.
Yeah, thanks for having me on the show, Mark.
All right. So like I was saying right before we started, this is the first time we've had an author on. So welcome. We're very, very glad to have you. And I'm super interested in the book. I thought it was amazing you wrote with your wife because I don't think I could do that. So why don't we just start there? Let's start with the kind of what the book is and kind of what makes it special compared to other autism
For
books.
sure. Well, this is it right here. It's called Our Amazing Minds. And we wrote it because when my son Jackson was first diagnosed, we knew that eventually we would have to have the conversation with him. What is autism? Why are you made the way that you're made? So my wife, as soon as he got the diagnosis, she was looking for therapies. We got him in speech, we got him in OT, and we were getting him the resources that he needed. To help him develop. But as far as looking for resources that would help him just understand autism himself at his level, we were really struggling to find something that we thought did that adequately. There are a lot of great children's books out there about autism, but we wanted the book to showcase, children. Some of the books, show animals and they're all amazing, but we wanted him to be able to look and see a character and hopefully feel seen and understood through that character. And also we wanted to show the fact that autism is diverse. There's different races. It affects boys and girls, and there's different levels of the spectrum. So we tried to do that within the book. And that's why we created it. We couldn't find something that we felt like did that adequately. And we wanted to have a resource that parents could also introduce autism to neurotypical kids, so these kids' peers can understand their friends. That's why we started this journey. Laura, it was her heart and her passion. I'm a graphic designer and creative director by trade, so I was able to give legs to it, and together we wrote the book and got it illustrated and launched it in August.
Oh, that's amazing. I didn't realize it was that recent. How's it been going? Has it been received well?
Very, very well. It's been really cool. We've got to hear stories from all over the country of parents getting to introduce autism for the first time to their kids through the book, which was, our ultimate goal when we first started was just, if we invested the time and the resources into making the book, if the only kid that was affected was Jackson, then goal met. But now hearing the blessing of these other kids being able to read the book and understand autism and finally feel seen and understood is just really cool. Like one story recently, we heard this 13-year-old boy tell his mom after reading it, I finally feel like somebody understands what's going on in my head. And it's just stories like that have just energized us, and it's just been really, really cool.
I love that, and I love how it's funny because, as kids, you're trying to categorize everything. You're like, oh, okay, this person looks like this person, seems like that. And you are different. And there are very few examples. I remember Sesame Street, I think, had like an autistic character, and that was trying to introduce the concept. But yeah, largely it's you're on your own and you're different for reasons that you can't really define. So let's talk about that. Like how do you guys explain in the book and just in person how an autistic child is different from other children?
Exactly. Well, I mean, I've heard you say it before, if you met one autistic child, you've met one autistic child. And so we knew it was going to be a little bit difficult to hopefully, showcase, all things of the spectrum and what all kids go through, but we tried to do our best. So Jackson starts the book by introducing you to three friends. There's Martin, there's Lily, and there's Sophia. all who are on different levels of the spectrum. And Martin, he's non-speaking. He uses a tablet to communicate. One of the characters repeats words and phrases. One of the characters really struggles with being laser focused on the task and not being able to leave that task without feeling frustrated. We talk about coping mechanisms, like why some kids flap their hands, why some kids like spin in circles. It helps them feel, grounded. We talk about food sensitivities, sound sensitivities. We really tried to go into all the various aspects of, what a child with autism struggles with, and the challenges they face. But also we talk about, the tremendous strengths they bring, like how one of the characters knows every shark from memory. One of the characters holds a snake for the first. So the story is they go to a children's museum, which is a new place, and that obviously brings about these challenges that they're facing. So, like one of the kids, Martin, in the story, holds a snake for the first time, and it's his overcoming his fear to be brave. So just aspects like that.
I love that. Yeah. And kind of, because you did mention like all the different elements that different autistic kids could have. And I know some of them have multiple. You do find kind of like sure. Groups like, oh, okay. Did you talk about severity at all? Because, I think just the autism community is always kind of divided between that like high functioning and low functioning. And some consider it like, oh, you're like a superhero with superpowers and there's nothing wrong with you and you're perfect the way you are and blah, blah. And then it's like, my son, I'm still teach him how to use the bathroom.
Exactly. So it's funny you should mention that, because that was one of the things that we struggled with in looking for books. It's actually one of the things when me and Laura talk about this, one of the aspects was these books that just portray autism as a superpower. And yes, there are some really cool things that come along with that, but there's some hard days, and there's some tier days, and there's some days where you're just trying to get by. So through the book, we try to each element that we discuss, whether it's food or sound, or we try to showcase the varying levels. One of the things, like Martin being non-speaking, we talk about, when he's frustrated, just the noises he makes to get his point across, that, to show that he needs something, and stuff like that, where we try to show the various spectrum through these characters and each element that they go through.
Oh, that's amazing. Well, I love how you did it through different characters, because a lot of times you see that it's like the one character and you get the one story, and then it's like that's what autism is. And it's like, no, it's much more complicated than that. Is Jackson your only child, or do you have?
So we have Jackson, and we have our daughter JoJo. She's neurotypical, just sassy and fun and awesome. They're best friends, and it's really cool seeing the relationship of her and him as they navigate, school and life together. It's really cool.
Oh, that's neat. Yeah, and that's the same as me. I have 12 and 13, and my son Declan, he's the go-getter, baseball kid that's everybody loves at school. We actually get notes, emails from his teachers like, Declan's just so great. And I'm like, that's neat. I never earned that. There you have Damien. Actually, Damien's pretty popular in his own right. At his autism center. But yeah, that dynamic, and luckily, I think we didn't have to explain, when you have, the siblings, especially if it's just the one other sibling, you end up, they're kind of, well, in our case, they're kind of only child themselves, where it's kind of like Agreed. They don't have the typical relationship. They see things a lot differently. My son, Declan, my neurotypical son, is very good with small kids, because he's good with autism, his brother, and how to handle that. Did you have to go through the process of kind of educating JoJo?
Yes. And we have the benefit now of having the book. So she's reading age now. She's 7. So getting to sit down with both of them and read it with them. When we got our first test copy, we sat down with them and we're reading the book to them, and you can see the light bulbs going on in her mind and Jackson's mind. And when it comes to the sibling relationship, like one of the things that Laura and I talk about all the time is Jackson requires more attention. He just does. It's the reality of the situation, right? So we really try to be cognizant of JoJo's needs and making sure like she's taken care of. We're meeting her emotional supports as well. At the same time, we have the blessing of having Jackson in the family, so it's really cool to see them work through situations together and her help him and vice versa too, which is really cool.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, I think I'm trying to think of like the education we did with Declan, but he was just well, they're 10 months apart. So it's basically
Yeah,
like almost the same age and their lives are just so much different and Declan's very aware of everything. So he's kind of
yeah,
figures stuff out himself. But that's awesome to have the book in there as well.
for sure.
Uh Now, you said you're a designer, which that's kind of like me, and and so it's and what I talk about a lot with the dads is that we end up, we're kind of support for the moms, especially initially, because my wife was the driver behind the diagnosis, she was the driver behind figuring out the therapies and the insurance requirements and all that kind of stuff, and I was kind of there,
Absolutely.
supporting the whole process. Was that kind of what you found too? Was let her lead and then run
For
run
sure.
support.
Yeah, absolutely. Like so Jackson was diagnosed when he was 3. And like I said, whenever we got that diagnosis, she hit the ground running. Um, we lived, at the time, we were in Nashville. So he was diagnosed at Vanderbilt. And there were a lot of great resources right there.
Mhm.
The state of Tennessee giving speech resources right in the home. So she hit the ground running. Like, we're going to get him the resources needs immediately, early intervention. And I'll say, I mean, candidly, I think I went through what I would call a little bit of a mourning period. Just, what does this relationship with my son look like moving forward? You have a kid, you think, we're going to do X, Y, and Z, typical father son relationship. And, that mourning period looked like, you know, supporting her, but at the same time, kind of walking through that. And, hindsight's 2020. If I could go back, I think there were probably some times where I needed to step up more and understand, like, hey, she needs more help. And I've done that as we've navigated this. But if I can encourage anyone, I would just say grieve, but also know that God's in control. This kid is incredible, and you're going to have a fantastic relationship with them. It just may look different. So step up and support your wife through that for sure.
That's awesome, and that's a great way to look at it too. And probably even making the book is part of the coping is what I'm at. Well, that's why I made the podcast, right? I
Yeah,
was like, hey,
yeah,
how do I process this? How do I connect with people and help
yeah,
share my story, but also learn from other people's experience and also just not feel alone. I think
yeah.
that's the biggest thing, especially you have your friend group, which probably also have kids. They're going through the regular motions, and you're like, man, we haven't even started that stuff yet,
Exactly, exactly.
and everything is 10 times more difficult. Does the book kind of talk about that just in terms of the I don't know, not the intensity of parenting, but the I don't know, the amount of work required with it?
So we don't get into the parenting aspect. The book primarily just helps introduce autism to kids. Like, Jackson's the narrator of the book. So he's like, hey, this is my friend. This is what they're going through. This is why we do the things that we do. We want you to feel free to ask us questions. We want you to be kind and understanding. I will say, though, the plan for Our Amazing Minds, we launched it under Our Amazing Minds Publishing, is for it to be a series. And honestly, one of the next books that we're thinking through is the family dynamic. Like, Jojo keeps asking, yeah, I kind of want a book about me too. So we're like, hey, I think you're in luck. I think we can make that happen. So I think the next book would be more along the lines of what parenting looks like, what the sibling relationship looks like, going out to eat, uh, you know, that aspect, and hopefully even helping more of the parents not just be able to introduce autism to their kids, but also feel seen and understood as well.
Hey, Dad. Yeah, you. The one who stayed up researching sensory toys at 2 a.m. The one learning about IEPs while watching game highlights. We see you. The Pathfinder Collective is where dads like us connect beyond the podcast. No judgment, just real talk about raising kids on the spectrum. $50 gets you lifetime access to our Facebook group, bi-monthly workshops with experts who actually get it, and yeah, a free shirt to replace that one with all the inexplicable stains. Because sometimes you need more than advice. You need another dad who nods and says, same here, man. Go to dadsinautismland.com/pathfinder.
I love that, because that's with their son Declan, because he's very aware, and so he sees like how much time and money we put into his brother, and so we've been pretty cognizant of like, okay, how do we make sure that he feels equal or like equally
Yeah,
treated? And so, but
absolutely.
that's not always the option. Like one of our other guests, Jason Vance, he has 7 kids, and it was his son was autistic, and then he has 6 girls, and so I'm like, I don't know.
Yes.
And I asked him, I said, hey, how did do the girls resent him because they see how much attention he needs and gets? And he's like, yeah, we've gone through issues. And then just
Yeah,
the behavior issues. Cause sometimes, autistic kids could be violent in some instances. And when they have a problem with somebody, they don't have like a filter. It's more like,
exactly.
I'm gonna let you know about this problem I have. So it's addressing the siblings and also, but we also put responsibilities on Declan where it's like, hey, your brother is special needs. Your brother
Mhm.
is different. People are gonna look at him different, and we kind of expect you to defend him and
For
have
sure.
his back, which is. He's the younger one and he's smaller. It's
Yeah.
kind of like my son looks like me growing up. He's fit and everything, but my son Damien is like 200 pounds at 13,
Wow.
and he's
Yeah, yeah.
probably going to be 6'5", and he's going to be this, you know, big guy. We're
Yeah.
kind of like, you're still expected to take care of him, uh,
Absolutely.
even in this case, and
Oh
it'll be
man.
stronger for it. So
For
I
sure.
don't, I don't know. Has JoJo kind of seen any of that? Interacting with other kids, with your son.
Yes. For sure. For sure. Like, we want to be parents that raise our kids with character. That's very important to us. So, we've seen JoJo just raise up in compassion and kindness, from sharing just her soul is a kind soul. So you can definitely tell, there's moments where she steps up and she's in defense of her brother and making sure he's okay. Um, Inclusive, making sure he's
Mm,
included in things. It's just really, really cool, to see that for sure.
that's awesome. And do you try to prep her or coach her at all in that?
Yes, and she's starting to realize now. Just, Jackson, he's in a mainstream classroom. He goes to school actually right here in our neighborhood, so he's close. But there's definitely things that he struggles with, that she's becoming more cognizant of, and helping him through those things for sure. And we try to coach her through that. And honestly, that's one of the reasons we wrote the book too, is helping these kids, not only, their friends, but their siblings, understand why these kids are made the way they're made, why they do the things that they do.
Mm, love that. Now you did mention God, and I'm assuming you're Christian. Is that
Yep,
so? So in regards to that, because that's a whole different dynamic. Like, why
for
did
sure.
God make me like this, and why did He make my brother or sister like this? Do you address the kind of the religious aspect with that?
Yeah, I mean, we liken it to the fact that we feel like there are no accidents. So we really try to harp on the verse, like, you're fearfully and wonderfully made, just the way you are. You bring, gifts and talents and joy to the world exactly the way that you were made. So we really try to talk through that, and just bring normalcy,
Mm.
to autism through that. Like, hey, you're incredible, and just the way that you are, and you're going to do amazing things, and change the world.
I love that. Well, and I think about my son because I'm like, man, I would be a completely different person if we didn't have to do, the 5,000 different things that we've had to
For sure.
do and change and accept and all those different elements. So I'm kind
Yeah.
of like, as much as I love both my sons equally, but I'm kind of like Damien has kind of improved my emotional, relational, spiritual well-being a ton, and
Yeah,
it's been pretty incredible. So I love that you're writing a whole series too, because yeah, I mean the sibling dynamic, that's one, the parent dynamic, maybe even
absolutely.
the father and the mother dynamic.
Yeah.
That's huge. And like I said, the fact that you guys wrote it together is amazing because
Thank you.
I've said this a few times on the podcast, but special needs families have an 89% divorce rate,
Yeah,
which
a
is
thousand
incredible.
percent. Yeah.
So with your ability to write a book together, I think that really shows that you guys are on the same page. Were you always kind of like, okay, we're a team, we're getting through this, or were there times when you went through struggles?
For sure. I mean, I would say, like I said early on, um, we were going through the journey together, but she was laser focused on getting him the resources. I was grieving. Now she was too, and I was helping him as well. But we were kind of on same journey moving forward, but like different paths. But as we've grown and grown with Jackson, and obviously I feel like I was mature at the time. I don't feel like you mature as much as you do when you have a special kid. You have to
So
grow
true.
up. I thought having a kid would make me grow up. Having a special needs kid makes you grow up. So yeah, so seeing those journeys come together, even as recent as the last year or so, writing this book, I feel like has been just therapeutic. Um, Really helping align like what the future looks like,
Mm.
for our family, in helping Jackson, and then also letting Jackson help others.
That's amazing. Do you have any tips in regards to, the marriage, getting along, supporting your wife while also, well, a lot of times I think dads feel alone. It's kind of like they're taking the lead,
Yeah,
so you're kind of, okay, well, she needs the help, she's doing all the work, and then you're just kind of left.
for sure. I mean, I would say 1,000%. I would say, I feel like as men, we tend to isolate in general with life situations. So this dynamic of having a kid with special needs, I think, causes men to feel alone quicker. I mean, it's like, is anybody going through what I'm going through? Does
Mm.
anybody feel what I'm feeling? And I think that can bring feelings of, just feeling alone, but even more so than that, I think it can lead to depression. I mean, I've that's
Mhm.
something that I've dealt with, is depression, and bringing that into the marriage, I feel like is difficult. She needs support. She needs you to step up, and then you're going through your own thing where I think you can almost become numb,
Mhm.
where you're just kind of like eking by. So I would say, if there's any one encouragement, it's just be cognizant of isolation, because your family needs you present. You need you present to function and be there for your kids. So I would just say, you're saying don't be alone. Absolutely, do not isolate. Be present, even if you need a reminder every 5 minutes that says wake up. Be there for your family.
Oh yeah, yeah. Well, and even just because you almost feel guilty about feeling bad too, where it's like,
Absolutely,
I
yeah,
shouldn't feel bad. Like I'm not the one, with autism and all these struggles, and I'm not the
exactly.
one leading the charge, so I shouldn't have this. But it's who cares? It's the way you feel. Accept it, address it, and
Yeah,
then, do something about it. Don't just sit in it
absolutely.
or repress it. I think, we talked about therapy, and it's basically like what you learn is that everything you repress, it doesn't go away,
Yeah,
and it's making decisions in your life that you don't even realize because you've never addressed the thing.
exactly.
It's a cycle. With that said, for me and my wife, we always say for, Declan being born, we're like, Declan, you're pretty lucky because if you weren't, born 10 months after, because we found out about, that my Damien was on the spectrum probably at like 18 months or so, where we really started
Gotcha.
to get serious about it. But we said like, I don't know if we would have had a second child if we had known, because we
Mhm.
just know how intense it would have been. Did you guys have the same kind of misgivings, or was it because I know you said he was 3 when he was diagnosed, and your
Yes.
JoJo's 7, so that's around the same time,
So
right?
around the same time. So yeah, so Laura was already pregnant at the time whenever we found out that he was autistic. Um, so great. I don't know what we would have felt. I don't know how to think through that, because that wasn't something that we went through. But I can definitely see, you know, in your situation, why that would have been, something that you thought through for sure.
Yeah, I mean it's well, we just think, we're pretty conservative with, how we think about the future, resources,
Yeah,
and what's my wife's an accountant, so it's always like that's always a in her mind.
absolutely.
And we're well, but then you have my friend Jason who has 7 kids, and I'm like, I don't even know how to think about that. That's, that sounds impossible to me, but he does it. He gets by. So
For sure.
no, it's amazing. And I think it's a testament to your guys' relationship to keep on going and almost using the book series as like, hey, you're making progress on everything. Sounds like a great idea. Are you guys planning on having more kids?
Nope.
No.
Two of them are done. Two of them are done.
That's what we
Yep.
said too. It was always even before we were like two and through.
Through and
That's
through.
the motto.
It's funny. I mean, to be completely candid, Laura and I, we waited 8 years before having kids.
Oh wow.
And we were traveling and living cool places, and we even went through a period. I hope the kids don't listen to this, where we didn't even know if we wanted kids. And now looking at our life, we're like, can you imagine not having these kids in our life and what our life would look like? It's just we're
It
it's
is.
the coolest thing.
It is. And it's you do think about that, like, oh, what would I be doing now? Because I know, guys where they're just like they're married and they say we're never gonna have children. And I'm kind of like, I can't even picture that. What do you
Yeah.
do?
What do you do with all the time?
With all the
Yeah.
time, with 50, 60 years of you, that's a different life and something that we're never going to experience because we're gonna, for me, it's and
Yeah.
it sounds terrible, but we're kind of like the diagnosis is a life sentence for
Yeah,
most autistic parents, where it's like
absolutely.
you will always be in support and you will always,
Absolutely.
be addressing this. How do you think about that? Just the long term aspects of autism fatherhood.
Yeah, I mean, obviously that's the trajectory of your life is going one way, you get a diagnosis and the trajectory is different. So since then we've had the conversations like, does Jackson live with us for the rest of his life? Do we build the house that has an apartment where he can live with us? And what does it look like to get him the supports that he needs past school, into adult if he needs those. So yeah, those are conversations that we definitely have. And we the main thing is we just want to make sure we resource him in a way that gives him just a great quality of life as best we can.
I love that. Yeah, and that's it's funny because we went through the same thing where we're kind of like, oh, maybe he'll improve. And then so we actually went and bought a property that had an apartment and we're like, okay,
Mm,
we're ready. He's going to be able to, and now, it's been several more years and we're like, that was silly. Like one, he's
gotcha.
only 13. Like who knows what the heck is going to happen? And two, he's probably never going to be able to live on his own at all.
Yeah,
Like ever. And
gotcha.
so now we think in terms of like, oh no, he's just our forever baby. I don't know if that's insulting to him. He probably wouldn't notice. But that's
Yeah,
how we look at it. We're like, and then so our preparation most of the time now is preparing our son, where we're kind of like, hey, we're not going to be around forever, and we
yeah, for
expect
sure.
you to take care of your brother, and just kind of preparing him for that, so it's not some kind of shock, but also not putting so much on him because sometimes you look at the siblings and the siblings do get really resentful of the special needs sibling, and then they will not be taking care of them like
Hmm.
probably ever, and so that's kind of an aspect. It doesn't sound like that's a JoJo issue, right?
No, I don't think so. And honestly, kudos to you too. Like, I mean, obviously you bought the house with the apartment and you feel like that's not in the future, but kudos to you guys for like making that a priority. And I think that's just really cool.
Yeah, it's kind of like the book project, right? Where it's like, okay, we got this box checked, and then we were like, we sold that property because we're like, this is way too
Gotcha.
much work. It's too much property. It's we don't have time anyways. And now it was like 3 acres and trees everywhere, and there's just it's just constant work. So yeah, if you
I
be
understand.
ready for it.
I grew up on a horse and cattle farm, so
Oh,
I
okay, yeah.
understand the
Oh
aspect of
man.
farm life and work life. So yeah, I get it.
No, I'm from California. Like I like a 10,000 square foot lot, like that's a good size piece of land,
For
and,
sure.
and then you're like, no, this is way too much work. So, you learn. And I
Absolutely.
think you guys are doing a great job where it's like, you produce the book, you're educating people, you have plans to continue to do it. And it keeps on moving forward. Do you guys have anything else planned in regards to the autism community?
Yeah, well, we this next year we plan to hopefully go to some conferences and walks and set up and hopefully introduce more people to the book. In terms of the brand itself, we, time will tell. We're considering making it like an animated cartoon series
Oh,
where, kids can, whether that's, on YouTube or something where kids can, watch these characters actually interact and do life. Um, don't know if that will happen or not. But that is long-term vision for our Amazing Minds Publishing.
that's awesome. Well, check out Sora because you could actually create animations now
I just
instantly.
downloaded it last week,
Did you?
actually. Yes. I love it.
It's
It's awesome.
incredible. It's actually, because I've been doing the AI thing for years, and I'm kind of like the video component was like, it's kind of useful for like B-roll and for,
Yeah.
different kind of media aspects. But then now with Sora, I produced an entire video and it had cutscenes. It had like
Yeah.
other shots and it all just did it in like 2 minutes. I was like, oh my gosh, this is incredible. So yeah, I think
Yeah.
definitely go for animation because why not?
For
It's so
sure.
easy.
Absolutely. 1,000%.
Well, that's great. Well, so if anybody's interested in the book or wants to find out more information about your family, where can they go?
So, yes, so we have our website. It's ouramazingminds.org. And there you can see a picture of the family, see Jackson, read a little bit more of our bio history, and obviously purchase the book. There's reviews and all the things that go with that. And then it's also on Amazon.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for coming on the show. This has been great. Sounds like you and your family are doing amazing. You got a good team there, which is, what it takes a lot of the time to
For
keep
sure.
moving forward. And I think great way to address the situation. I think I'm pretty similar to you in regards like, hey, if you're having a problem, develop some media and come out with content. That'll
Love
help.
it. Love it. Oh, man. Well, thanks for having me on the show for sure.
Thank you so much. And thank you for listening. This has been the Dads in Autism Land podcast. Tune back in for more stories from autism dads and more authors like Jeffrey and his family.